sports.
And he said if I didn't drink lots of milk, when I grow up, I'm going to be good enough to play for Accrington Stanley. Accrington Stanley? Who are they? Exactly.
I'll tell you who we are. We're world famous and we're top of the UniBond League.
Memorable name, memorable season. Accrington Stanley's revival is being followed from as far afield as Israel and Australia.
You know, only one go up, so it's hard. There's no margin for error at all. And we got on a great start. We won 9 on the bounce, and I think that give everyone maybe an insight into that. We could go on and win this.
Coleman's squad includes a former Premiership player, a full international, and Robbie Williams. No, this one.
Well, you know, I get a lot of stick about that, but just take it on the chin, just laugh it off. So yeah, I can't sing anyway. I think I can on the coach going back on new weight trips, but definitely can't.
This Lancashire town was a football pioneer. Accrington FC were founder members of the Football League. Their successors, Stanley, were a league club for more than 40 years before mounting debts forced them to resign mid-season in 1962. The old ground's now a school playing field. Only a derelict changing room remains. The current chairman can remember playing here.
Yeah, this is the original Peel Park. This is the ground where everything happened, and this is unfortunately the ground where everything disappeared from.
Just behind us there, that's used to be an old terrace, didn't it? A huge terrace here.
Yeah, that was known as the Coppice End, which was very, very steep, and you know, I think it held about 4,500. I can remember that, you know, the big games against Blackburn, Burnley, Tottenham Hotspur, you know, all great occasions.
We've glimpsed the past, but now this is the present and the future.
Yeah, hopefully, when the ground is developed to its full potential, you know, this will be the home hope for Accrington Stanley for a long number of years to come.
Prematurely retired through injury, former Liverpool player Mike Marsh is among those trying to bring conference football to the Crown Ground.
Just to get promotion into the next division is enough. That's what I come here for. We decided at the start of the season that we're going to have a right bash at winning this league. I don't think I'll be able to play in the conference next year due to my body won't take its full-time football.
Marsh's short-term influence in Stanley's revival has been significant. Here setting up Lutel James in a recent win over Blythe Spartans. The St Kitts international says Accrington are yet to realise their full potential.
We would have been 25 points ahead because some of the games that we've drawn or lost wasn't right to draw or lose, so it's not good enough, not yet.
There's a lot of people here who will have felt for the club when they went out the league, so it'll be a good bonus for them if we can get promotion this year, you know, and start pushing towards the Football League.
Which all leaves just one outstanding question.
Aldershot Town, who are they?
We're the phoenix that rose to them.
Yes, good for them and good for...
Accrington Stanley have been promoted to the Vauxhall Conference 40 years after they dropped out of the Football League they helped to set up. A big day for the town, the team and their manager, as Steve Rawling reports.
While some Stanley fans might remember the days of National League football, the hopes and dreams of others rest with manager John Coleman.
Hey, you don't get many of these games, you know, in your life. Enjoy them. Don't worry about it. Well, we've got a famous name, and I think there's a little bit of jealousy in non-league circles. You can't get away from it, that's our name, and if people know us, you know, my job is to try and get us known for our footballing ability.
Don't let yourselves down now. All the work we've put in to get us in this situation. Hey, you know you're the best side in the league. Go and prove it. Everyone's got himself.
For the next 90 minutes, it's down to John's players to prove him right.
Go on, Luce! Go on, son!
Stanley are awarded a penalty, but John's got butterflies.
They won't score us.
Striker Lutel James proves him wrong. Stanley go 1-0 up. There's just minutes left in the game. Stanley are 2-1 ahead. News comes in that Barrow, Stanley's closest rivals, have failed to get the win they needed. Then James scores again to seal the championship. For fans who feel like they've had 40 years in football's wilderness, it's an emotional day.
Coming from getting relegated from this league 4 years ago to getting promotion to the conference is absolutely magnificent.
We're on the ladder now. We're one step away from the Football League. No one's saying that we'll be knocking on that door yet. But what we'll do is we'll have a good go. And we're in touching distance now, and to get that far for people, you know, who it means a lot to. It also means a lot for the players.
Steve Rawling, North West Tonight in Accrington.
Great stuff. But of course, not so good news for the Challenge Cup semi-finals over the weekend. Wigan and Saints both lost.
Indeed. Or Yorkshire final. I'll not be watching.
Never mind.
Well done.
And hoping to cause an FA Cup shock this weekend, the people of Accrington are hoping their club will be remembered for more in years to come. Stephen Cook reports.
Accrington Stanley, who were there? Accrington Stanley? Who were Accrington Stanley?
You would mention Accrington Stanley anywhere, and Accrington Stanley, who was there? You know, you like that advert, the milk advert, innit?
Hey, Russia, if I drink my milk, I'm good enough to play for Accrington Stanley.
Accrington Stanley, who are they?
Exactly.
Milk? Ugh, it's what Ian Rush drinks. Ian Rush? Yeah, and he said if I didn't drink lots of milk, when I grow up, I'm going to be good enough to play for Accrington Stanley. Accrington Stanley? Who are they? Exactly. Nah, get off. Give me some. Get off.
Accrington Stanley has a cult status in the world of football, helped in part by their unusual name, as well as that 1980s advert for milk. They were also one of the original 12 members of the Football League when it was formed in 1888. In 1962, a financial crisis forced them to resign from the league they'd helped to create. However, they soon reformed and have slowly made their way up through the non-league pyramid into the nationwide conference.
Obviously, the milk advert helped, you know, it got everyone's into the brain that, you know, they knew who we were. I think the fact that, you know, the older generation will remember them being the first one to go out the league under financial problems and the demise of them, and they've always, most people have a soft spot for them. The one thing you know is that if you go anywhere around the country or even most parts of the world, people have heard of us, which gives you the head start when it comes to publicity and trying to market yourselves and sell stuff.
They're known as founder members of the Football League, the first club to resign from the league, and people have a soft spot for them. Eric always says we're everybody's second club. You know, people or supporters, they'll have a first choice club, then they'll always look to Accrington Stanley and look at their results, and it's just one of them clubs that captures the imagination.
Wherever you go all over the world, you know, people, if you say you come from Accrington, you know, the first thing, or the only thing they know about Accrington is Accrington Stanley, the football club.
On Sunday, league opposition will once again grace the town of Accrington for the first time since Stanley resigned from the Football League. Huddersfield Town will be the visitors in the first round of the FA Cup.
I think they've been waiting for a number of years for something to happen in Accrington. They've always, you know, been on the fringes of doing something and never quite made it. They won the UniBond League and everyone went mad, and now they're in the conference, there's a lot more attention on them, and getting through to the first round of the FA Cup is just huge for them. They're one of them clubs that everybody looks out for, and you know, now they've got to the first round of the FA Cup, everybody's just buzzing.
I think everyone's keen, like, you know, that their little town's on the map, and, you know, for that couple of hours on a Sunday afternoon we'll be a focal point, and hopefully we won't let them down.
And both the players and the fans believe a giant-killing act is on the cards.
Well, I think Huddersfield always respect the higher divisions, that they've got something to look at this weekend. They'll not get away with murder here this weekend.
When they're not expected to win, all the pressure's on them. They're going to come here, and it's a totally different environment than what they used to. They used to play in a big stadium and, you know, plush surroundings. This is not that, and this will be a tight little ground with supporters right on top of them who are just out to enjoy themselves and enjoy the day, and we certainly will be up for it, so it's going to be a tough day for them.
I think we've got a good chance. I think we've got a good chance of beating them. Our own ground, and that there'll be about 4,000 Accrington fans here, so it should be a good game.
The Cup is a welcome distraction for the Lancastrian side, but the overriding ambition of the club remains Stanley's re-election to the Football League.
There's no such word as if. You know, it will happen, you know, whether it's the next 2-3 years, you know, I wouldn't like to say, but certainly, you know, in my time, I want to certainly be part of Accrington going back into the Football League, and, you know, the days in March 1962 when the demise of the old Accrington Stanley, you know, it'll be good certainly for the people at Accrington that remember those days when depression and everybody think it wouldn't happen, they thought it wouldn't happen, you know, it did happen. You know, they let the club go, and I'm determined, you know, that, you know, with a little bit of luck, we can get back into the Football League.
I think we're pretty close, because I've seen some good... When we went in the conference, I was a little bit dubious. You know, we thought we were going in a lot stronger than us. We're frightened of nobody. They're frightened of us.
Whether it's this year, it remains to be seen. I mean, the beauty is now we've got the opportunity to make the playoffs. Top 5 going to that, we're 7th, and we're maybe just drifting away a bit from that, so we need to get our act together and start winning some points sooner rather than later, and put pressure on the teams who are just a little bit above us.
We've got a great bunch of players who have got a lot of ability. You know, people talk about non-league football and they think, oh, you know, kick and rush or whatever. But, you know, the people that come, I think crowds are increasing all the time because people come and they enjoy the football. It's good to watch, and I think it's improving all the time.
Accrington Stanley, who are they?
Yeah, there's a little bit of magic about the Accrington Stanley name. Even people who weren't born when they went out of the league know all about Accrington Stanley. And I'll tell you what, the magic of the cup, the romance of Accrington Stanley. Huddersfield Town won't fancy this at all this weekend, will they?
No one fancies it. And there's, to be honest, there's not a lot of difference now between conference sides and 3rd division and 2nd division sides. I lived up there for a year, and there's a great feeling for football up there, Nick. And that's going to be a tough game for Huddersfield. But as I say, I think it's brilliant, especially for all the old fellas there, all the old families who remember it as it was, and they're going to get a taste of it again.
And there's always a shock. There's always a big shock in every round, isn't there? Or seemingly. I mean, I'm sure you must have been on the end of 1 or 2 shocks in the cup over the years.
Yeah, and I'm sure someone's telling you in your ear about that as well.
Yeah. It's a long list,
Yeah,
Tony.
sure.
That's what I'm being told. It's a long list. We
It's
can't
a
just
very
single
long
one
list,
game out.
yes.
Yeah. In fact, if we actually look at some of the fixtures that are coming up this weekend, I mean, there's shocks aplenty all over the place. Potentially, I mean, Salisbury going to Sheffield Wednesday. Nick Holmes, the former Cup winner with Southampton, managing Salisbury. Shildon at Notts County. Hornchurch entertaining Darlington. A couple of real minnows there. Bradford Park Avenue coming back as well. Southend versus Canvey Island, a real local rivalry there. This is what the magic of the Cup is all about, isn't it, Anthony?
It is, isn't it? It's almost tempting to go jumpers for goalposts and all that, but I do think I'd rather be at one of these games on Saturday than probably games in the Premiership, maybe the Arsenal-Spurs game accepted. But this is where the excitement is going to be. This is where the magic's going to be. You know, what great stories we've got in store on Saturday, whether it's Tony Adams at Wickham or whether it's Bradford Park Avenue or Accrington Stanley. And this for me is what football is all about.
Yeah, and Tony, you mentioned obviously the strength of the conference. Accrington Stanley flying high in the conference as well, and they're surrounded by teams that have got league experience, which is interesting. Hereford still at the top, Chester, Aldershot, Barnet, Exeter, Shrewsbury. They've all been in the Football League in recent years as well.
They've all been there, and it'd just be nice to see one of the other ones get back up there, like Accrington, who it was a long time, 1962 they were talking about, but that is a good standard. I was fortunate enough to play at non-league level, and there's a lot of people who do that work in and around football clubs for nothing, Nick, and that is what football's all about, not just about big, highly paid superstars.
Yeah, there's nothing like the magic of the first round of the FA Cup, and there's nothing like hearing from good old Ken Bates as well. He's back. Ken is back. If you look at the back page of The Sun tomorrow, Ken is lashing out at Alex Ferguson and Arsene Wenger for their rather public spats in recent weeks. He's saying Claudio Ranieri would never do that. Claudio is a perfect gentleman. Ken is back.
To find out why excitement among these Accrington Stanley supporters is now reaching fever pitch. Richard.
Thanks, Gordon. Yes, if you're looking at some of the major football matches this weekend, you can't ignore the colour red. There's Liverpool against Manchester United on Sunday in the Premiership, and then in the FA Cup, Accrington Stanley, another red-shirted team, takes centre stage.
We are the Reds! We are the Reds! We are the Reds! We are the Reds! We are the Reds!
These are Accrington Stanley Reds, a club nowhere near the size of Manchester United or Liverpool, but more than their equal in the Pride Stakes.
We're more famous than United. Manchester United, do you know that? Well, nearly. But we've been going longer than them.
They have, as founder members of the Football League, Accrington have a hefty tradition and are now back in the spotlight, with the squad preparing to face 3rd Division Huddersfield Town in the FA Cup.
It's very important, you know, obviously the financial awards of doing well in the FA Cup cannot be underestimated, and it gives you the chance then to build the foundations of your club if you're thinking of going forward and you're ambitious.
He knows a thing or two about the competition, the scorer of a 4-minute hat-trick for Morecambe in the mid-1990s, one of the fastest in FA Cup history. A positive omen? Well, Accrington's fans are certainly confident.
No competition, we're going to walk them over at Park and pace them. Really looking forward on Sunday. I think we've a realistic chance of winning on Sunday.
This is where football was born, and this is what football's all about.
Third Division Huddersfield are their opponents, but from deepest Lancashire, Ivan Gaskell reports on Accrington Stanley.
Dwarfed by their giant Lancashire neighbours, they may be, but Accrington Stanley is a name with its own special place in the football world. infamously expelled from the Football League under a financial cloud 41 years ago, and famously put back on the map as the butt of a television advert too.
Yeah, and he said if I didn't drink lots of milk, when I grow up, I'm going to be good enough to play for Accrington Stanley. Accrington Stanley? Who are they? Exactly. Nah, get off.
I don't think it did us any harm because, you know, it did send the name all over the world, and a few years later when I took over, you know, we brought Alan Donald, the South African Test cricketer, to play for my local club, and he did mention the milk advert. And I were amazed that somebody, the other side of the world, but it was on Channel 9 virtually every night was the milk advert.
Promotion of a different kind occupies Accrington these days. Reborn, revived in the top half of the conference, an impressive modern history being guided by Stanley's schoolteacher manager.
I want people to start taking notice of us for our footballing prowess, and thankfully, you know, we've gone into a nationwide league now, but we're doing well. We're playing quite good football. I think the style of football we play probably reflects me. I was an attacker all my life, and we play attacking open football. Some might say we get to pick up too many yellow and red cards, but I think that we're committed, we're passionate, and we love our football.
Coleman once set the record for the Cup's fastest hat-trick, and his team too is littered with experienced campaigners. Gordon Armstrong ascended Wembley's famous steps as a 1992 runner-up.
Yeah, Gordon Armstrong played for Sunderland. He actually picked up a winner's medal by mistake because I think they give Liverpool and Sunderland the wrong medals. And Gordon said, like, he remembers the day, but he was disappointed because he didn't perform. And I hope on Sunday that the lads take that on board and say, you know, you've got to enjoy the day, but by the same token, you enjoy the day when you perform well.
It's always special. All the lads look forward to, you know, getting in our case, the first round of the cup. It's something different. It's exciting for us and exciting for every player. Every player's got the dream to get the final. All right, we'd be a long old haul for us to get to the final, but every player's still got that dream that they want to get there. They know how special that is.
A strong Merseyside connection runs through Stanley's squad. Two of their players are part of the coaching staff at Liverpool's Football Academy. They shouldn't want for cup inspiration.
Well, for me, obviously, it's a big game. I've never been in the FA Cup personally. I think it's been a long time since the club's been involved in a big game in the FA Cup. So I think no one's underestimating how big the occasion's going to be, and I think you'll see that on Sunday with the size of the crowd and, you know, the atmosphere. It's really going to be a carnival occasion.
What sort of a team are Accrington Stanley? I mean, it's a romantic name. Is there much romance in your approach to the game?
I think some might describe us as a physical team. We like to describe ourselves as a little bit of a football inside. We certainly, that's what comes from the manager. He likes us to play football, he likes us to press teams, play football in their half of the pitch. But I think, you know, we'll be looking forward to putting on a good display on Sunday.
I hope that they give a good account of themselves, and I really believe we can win. You know, and I'm sure others feel the same way. It's a big tie for both clubs, and, you know, it's a chance to progress and, you know, maybe pull another big tie, and then, you know, then you're touching distance.
Should we let Mr. Coleman have the last word? What's your dream then?
We win on Sunday, we get through the next round, and then we play against Liverpool at Anfield. That'll be my dream.
And win or lose Sunday, back to school on Monday?
Yeah, my mood might alter a bit. If we win, I think the kids might be getting lots of pleasant work to do on Monday morning. If we lose, they might be hard at work at the numeracy lessons, with me frowning over them.
Exactly right. Accrington Stanley play Huddersfield Town, Lancashire versus Yorkshire, live here on BBC One just before 1 o'clock tomorrow lunchtime. An Accrington feature in this great book here, The Pyramid Football Guide to Non-League. We've got loads of these to give away via competition on our website.
Dan Walker reports.
Off you go. That's the idea.
Less than 24 hours after celebrating a famous cup win, John Coleman's back in his Highton school teaching PE. Andy Gowk's injury time wonder strike ensured a place in the second round of the FA Cup for Stanley, and an easier day for the pupils at St Aloysius.
Getting up this morning for work, but yeah, it's always nice when you go into work the next day and you've had a good result, you know, positive attitude, and all the children have reminded me what I said on the telly last week, that I'd give them an easy day, and I think they have, to a certain extent.
Things are looking good for the football club at the moment. Still in the cup, 7th in the conference, and the boss is trying his best to keep his feet on the ground. Mr. Coleman's happy, the kids are happy, the fans are happy, even the club's happy. In fact, the only thing disappointing anybody at the moment is a second round draw away at Bournemouth, which is more than a hop, skip and a jump away.
we'll go there and give it our best shot. You know, we'll stay overnight, we'll prepare properly, and you know, we're not just going there to make the numbers up. We're not just going to go there and roll over. We're going to go our best and try and win.
And you wouldn't bet against him. John Coleman can't put a foot wrong at the moment. He even won today's jumping competition with his final effort of the day.
Show off.
Accrington Stanley ended 11 years of first-round exits as they beat 3rd Division Huddersfield. And in the Premiership, Kevin Keegan has blamed his team selection following their 3-0 home defeat to struggling Leicester. And Gerard Houllier wasn't out as 3rd Division Huddersfield held on against a defiant Accrington Stanley after going down to 10 men. But a late substitution made all the difference. Andy Gowick defied all the odds to hammer home the winner in the 2nd minute of injury time to write yet another memorable chapter in Stanley's history books. And there were celebrations at
third round of the FA Cup, and 2nd Division Bournemouth still don't know what hit them. Dan Walker reports on a match with a dramatic finale.
If you want to be FA Cup heroes, you need plenty of hard work, a bit of fortune, and of course you need to know how to celebrate once it all goes your way. Accrington Stanley are making a habit of it. It did take a replay and penalties against Bournemouth, but finally the Lancashire team made the 3rd round and made the town happy.
The work of the football team is really helping to show how Accrington East Lancashire can be an example to the rest of the North West.
For so long, Accrington Stanley have been the butt of so many jokes, and it's nice to sort of be talked about for the right reasons.
I think morale's a bit down at the minute, and I think it's just think everybody's got together, good Christmas spirit and everything, really good.
Bournemouth dominated much of last night's game, and Stanley keeper Jamie Spear had to be at his best. There was even a slice of controversy in extra time. With penalties looming, Reds manager John Coleman switched keepers, leaving Spear more than a little miffed. But as it happened, neither custodian made a save, and when Carl Broadhurst blasted over for the visitors, it was left to Paul Howarth to score the decisive penalty. Today, manager John Coleman was back at his heightened school, but is looking forward to some big changes at the club in the future.
The plan is to go full-time next season anyway. Obviously, it doesn't do any harm to get money into the club. The chairman will tell you that he doesn't need it. It's a very solvent club and it's in the black, but I don't think any lower league teams can afford to sneeze at big paydays.
But who do they play in the 3rd round, I hear you cry? Well, the boss is still dreaming of a trip to Anfield, but this time round, Accrington will take on, wait for it, Colchester.
Wow.
And they'll win.
They probably will do, so we wish them the very best of luck. OK, now, great news.
They booked a place in the 3rd round. Non-league Stanley beat 2nd Division Bournemouth in a tense penalty shootout. Paul Howarth scoring the decisive spot kick. Accrington will be at home to Colchester United in the next round.
Was the warning, and Carl de Goyd's effort, which hit the post, was clearly a let-off. After that, though, it was all Stanley. One man posed a constant threat, Luke L. James. This was his and Accrington's best chance in the first half. Simon Brown beaten just wide. The second half was almost one-way traffic. Steve Flitcroft may not be in the headlines as much as his brother, but had this one gone in, he would have been. Brown's save really kept Colchester in the tie. Back to Luke L. James just before the hour, and he seemed to do everything right here, but the bar had other ideas. No shortage of action in this pulsating tie. Colchester's line of defence stretched almost to breaking point at times. Dean Calcutt's cross. Roy Prendergast so nearly getting the touch. But the ball was scrambled clear somehow. That's another nice mess-u, nearly got me into Stanley. But as so often happens in one-sided tussles, the counter-attack so nearly broke the hearts. No one could fault Scott McLeish's header. The post, though, stood firm. And then to sum up Accrington's day, the last minute, and a save as good as any. Paul Cook thought he'd scored, Simon Brown, the hero for Colchester.
125 years in Scarborough.
Manager Huddersfield beat them, got a hard draw away to Bournemouth, got a draw there, brought them back, won on penalties. So you can't certainly write Accrington out of the equation yet.
And the manager, John Coleman, said afterwards, I know a lot of people always say we've lost our best opportunity, but we still have an opportunity.
Yeah, they do. They're going to have to play out of their skins to really get the result they're looking for. I feel desperately sorry for Kidderminster, because you get...
Cross, Joe Keith with time to spare and a target to hit. A challenge, too, for the conference team to fight back. but that was taken a touch too seriously on the sidelines. Quite who did what to whom wasn't entirely clear, but Accrington's manager John Coleman was banished to the stands at half-time. His team's plight didn't improve either. Keith didn't have the best of angles, but his second goal of the night left Accrington with only 6 minutes to retrieve the situation. That was time enough for them to halve the deficit and to lose Stephen Holford to a red card, but Paul Mullin's goal wasn't enough.
If Wolves' late equaliser in
The station is just a mile's walk from the oddly named Interlink Express Stadium, the club's home since 1970, known to most fans as the Crown Ground, and has a capacity of 5,000. Although you can also get a decent view from the new housing development. Entrance to a game is £12 for adults and £7 for concessions. Stanley's Burgers are legendary in non-league circles, and there are plenty of pubs near the ground where Accrington-born Mystic Meg might be able to predict the result for you. Or you can enjoy a game of darts with the town's most famous son, good old Jim Bowen. The Football League. Dylan Jane reports on a resurgent Accrington Stanley.
Milk? Ugh, it's what Ian Rush drinks. Ian Rush? Yeah, and he said if I didn't drink lots of milk, when I grow up, I'll only be good enough to play for Accrington Stanley. Accrington Stanley? Who are they? Exactly. Nah, get off. Give me some. Get off.
The name Accrington Stanley may forever be associated with milk, but at present, the club is making headlines on the pitch. With 18 conference matches remaining, Stanley are in pole position to return to the Football League for the first time since the club was forcibly removed back in 1962.
We've got a good team spirit. We've got a lot of young lads who've, come here with a point to prove. A lot have been released from pro clubs and, have had a second chance to try and boost their careers. And yeah, they're doing well at the moment. And we've got a good, happy blend of youth and experience. And it's took us a long way so far.
Just one season after being promoted to the conference, last year Accrington chairman Eric Worley took the massive decision to make the club full-time. The impact of this decision on the club's fortunes has been considerable.
I would say 80% of the teams in our league are full-time. If you're going to compete, it has to be on a level playing field. As a personal point of view, it's been brilliant. It's the best job in the world to be involved in professional football, on a daily basis. And it lets you work on things that you wouldn't have time to work on when you're part-time. You can work on the finer points of coaching, the finer points of team play. It's not just all about fitness, although you do get a big boost with your fitness because, the lads are working harder.
I'd imagine for some of the more senior lads, like say 27, 28, who had pretty decent jobs, it was a big call. But for a lot of younger lads, and there is certainly a number of them in our squad, it was a big chance and certainly one that none of us could pass up.
The other single major factor in the club's renaissance has been the lively management duo of John Coleman and Jimmy Bell, who have been at the helm since 1999.
We're very close. I think that's a big thing. And we want success. It drives us on in training, matches, whatever. We kick heads every ball, and that's the way we are. We just love the game, to tell you the truth.
Jimmy's enthusiasm is amazing. Everyone's seen that. And he's got my mentality that he wants to win at all costs, and sometimes that rubs people up the wrong way, but so be it. We try and do it our way. We try and treat players the way we want to be treated as players, and deep down we're both still players.
On Monday week, the Reds take on second place Exeter in a match that is shaping up as one of the biggest in Stanley's history. For a club that has endured more than its fair share of hardship and ridicule, reaching the promised land of the Football League would be a real tonic.
The lads are brimming with confidence. They're a good set of lads. They're all prepared to work. They're all prepared to listen. Thankfully we've got that at the moment, and we hope it'll continue till April.
I think it would be a big deal for the people of Accrington and also the players, because a lot of the players haven't played in the league, and I'm sure a lot of us would like to sample that. With us being a young squad, I feel we've got the potential to grow together and maybe do something in the league above if we're lucky enough to get there.
See, nice the old glory names coming bouncing back. We said Aston Villa, Sleeping Giants, Stuff of Legend, but Accrington Stanley, they can outdo them on that, can't they, John?
Yeah, fantastic story. I mean, it's great to see them doing so well, and
so close to coming back? Because, I mean, as a kid I grew up, they were obviously in the Football League at the time.
I think they were probably one of the biggest teams ever in your day, John, I'm sure.
I remember them well, yeah. What do you mean in my day?
Of course you do. I have no idea what I meant by that. It seems so rude now I've said it out loud. We should have a look at a couple of the big stories that have broken in, during the course of the evening, not least of which is the fact that Portsmouth have been charged with an illegal approach for Harry Redknapp.